Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm your host, the President Sean Williams. We're back with another episode. It's a hot week, man. It's a hot week outside, but that's not stopping me from the grind. Not stopping me from just getting to it. And today, I got a fabulous guest, man. Listen, the connection we had the first time, I just knew like it was meant to be. It was absolutely meant to be. She's a business and finance coach. And listen, we're going to be talking about, building a dream. And
Yes.
Trust me, that's going to be something you're going to hear a lot in this episode. But today, I got Nikki. Nikki, how are you doing?
I'm good, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's a blessing. Thank you.
Of course. I appreciate it. I remember the first time we got in connection, I just felt like this was going to happen sooner than later.
Yes. Fair enough. At least somebody threw it in the universe.
Of course, but yeah, we're definitely gonna get into your story, talk about building a dream, and basically what that correlates to your own development consultation company and everything like that. And yeah, we're just gonna have a good time. Definitely drop some knowledge, some gems for all the entrepreneurs listening right now. This is the episode to get everything. If you're someone that needs that motivation, that needs that confidence, get the resources, like this is the conversation for you. And of course, we're gonna do some little witty banter and this stuff, but like that's common on the Facebook. You gotta expect that. There's no banter.
And you do. You have to.
Exactly. But again, guys, make sure you go follow the podcast. I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna do it for the beginning of the episode. I usually wait till the end.
Do it at the beginning. Do it.
At the beginning. Yes. We're switching it up. Beginning. Follow the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the listening platforms. And look, guys, big things are coming for the Safe Room. There's things I haven't said because I'm keeping it on the wraps. I'm waiting.
As you should.
Yeah. So, like, we're gonna take it easy. But until then, Nikki, let's just get into the conversation. But before we actually get into the conversation, we gotta start with our opening segment, the hot seat.
Yes.
We have to start with the hot seat. Don't even get worried by the name. It's not that intimidating or anything. It's simple. Just 4 questions I got for you, and just make sure you answer them to your best abilities, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So outside of your work, you being an entrepreneur, you being a business and finance coach, tell me something about yourself in 1 sentence.
I'm determined, hardworking, and very innovative. And at the very least, what I do is I focus on putting community first.
I like that. That community first one, that one hit the soul right here.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
I love that. And like speaking of community first, like maybe you want to share like which community you're coming from, just for people who may not know what you do or exactly who you like advocate for.
So I am a business and finance coach, as Sean had mentioned. My name is Nik-Keisha Moodie, call me referred to as Nikki, and I am a life license advisor as well as George Brown certified life skills coach. And so I really just coupled the two together once I realized that there was a huge gap for underrepresented BIPOC women entrepreneurs. That's who I was coming into contact with, and I found that what was missing was those business fundamentals. And once I was able to grasp that, it was very evident that the professional services for coaching, and I will say it's development, and I'm not very traditional with the consulting because I don't like to tell people what to do. I really like to help people discover, so I stick with that coaching aspect. And then development is you get to know me. Everything I do is education. Everything is about leveling up and growing in that sense. And so that's why I shy away from consulting and more doing that development piece, because it's ongoing, right? And I have the patience for it. And the pillars that I do have is education, empower, and inspire. So I stand true to that. I don't want to tell people what to do. I want to journey with you. I want to discover with you. That's just pretty much where I'm at when it comes to the niche that I've decided to really delve into.
That's beautiful. I feel like you were able to just put everything just in one soliloquy. Just so beautiful, And like, I feel like, you got that, that pitch mindset, being able to just pitch in, like, we'll get into that later on.
We will definitely get into that. We will definitely get into that. Yes.
Foreshadow.
Yes.
Okay, cool. But speaking of pitch, going on to the next question. What is the toughest pitch you ever gave for your business to maybe someone or maybe at a competition?
Right. So it's very interesting and very fitting when you ask that question because I have not pitched yet, but I did apply and I'm a finalist, so I'm pitching this coming weekend. And the thing to note is, I thought the application was the hardest part. No, it's this preparation mode. It's getting ready to really make sure that I'm within that 3 minute mark and that I'm delivering at a certain pace and I'm staying within, that time frame. And I think that's the hardest part that I realized because I've never been so nerve wracked about anything before. And I had a past boss who tells me that if you feel it in your gut, it's just because you care. And I absolutely do, right? I realize that I want to give back to the community, but I have to, as a business owner, think about ways that are gonna, of course, still allow me to bring in profit to still serve the community, right? So pitching has definitely been something that has been brought to my attention over the last 4 months. And so when I see something and I'm like, all right, what is this all about? I will secretly go in behind closed doors. And that's exactly what's happened, right? I realized that there's an opportunity to represent for my community, but as well as show people that with the right guidance and support, you could pitch too, right? And as I go through this, everything we go through, what I go through, it's experience. And I get to offer this as a service for my clients so they can as well go through the wraths and then be able to raise capital in their business, right? To do more in their business as well.
Okay, first things first. Round of applause for being a finalist. Like, we got to get that out the way because, like, especially for the first time, one
I
case.
know. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's so crazy. I know. I mean, my boss had the audacity to say to me yesterday, but he's like, "You're a winner." I'm like, "It's not the point." Okay, it's not the point. It's realizing the opportunity that lies ahead and who it could benefit. That's what I'm more coming from. I know what I'm capable of doing, but to be able to achieve something not just for myself, but for somebody else, like that to me is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've always wanted to. I've been kind of contemplating myself. Like, I want to get into pitch contests myself, and I think for a lot of people, it's good for you. You took that initiative to actually, apply because a lot of times we have that imposter syndrome saying, man, what do I know? Like there's
Yep.
probably thousands of people who know how to do this, and like even if they know how to do this, how are you not gonna put that level of confidence in yourself? Like,
Exactly.
personally, for me, it's like, listen, if I go out there and I lose, so what? I mean, like, I took that one step, and again, once you build that experience, you start to learn from those competitions, from those contests. It's like, okay, I got some advice from someone.
Yes.
I learned something. Now I start to apply it. Now it's like I don't stumble on my word. I can get to points like straight up. I'm clicking on every, cylinder. That's the things that you build on.
Yeah. It's very true. It's exactly that. And life is so beautiful because last week Friday, where I had met Prophet Gods, I think that's his name, don't quote me, but
Oh, Kings?
yes, I went to see him pitch. Excuse me? So this is what you guys are doing? And to see it in front of my eyes, he was so passionate about his business on that stage, and that drew to me. You know what I mean? And it was like, wow, look at this opportunity where you can tell your story, and really create impact. Like, I'm just blown. I was blown. He was really
Kings
good.
he's amazing. Shout out to Kings. We actually had him on the podcast for our 100th episode. So
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it was good having him. I know there was someone else I knew as well. Shout out to Faiza for a question for you. Seeing her there, it's great to see because
Gotcha.
like we kept in connection. So I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe you'll see Sean Williams, the safe room, at your next pitch contest. All right,
You never know. I mean, I see it.
and listen, like guys, I know we're all about sportsmanship, but just know I'm coming for blood. I'm coming for the W.
Yo, you
Okay.
have to. Why not? Especially when it's for such a good cause. You give us a platform to use our voice and to become a part of the landscape of entrepreneurship. Like, that's super amazing. So it's for a good cause. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. All right. I love the positivity. Like we're getting a positive vibe right now. It's good to see. Good to see. All right. Next question. So, an interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
Alrighty. So there are times where I have to confess and say, I am not an extrovert. I know how to channel my energy very well. I'm an introvert. Love being at home. Love being in my solitude. Love being in my mind. Love planning, strategizing. You know, if you really want to get deep down to figure out what those next steps are, I love just doing that for self. Whether it's reading a book, it could just be sitting there writing something out, listening to something on YouTube or a podcast, whatever that may be. And like, I like going out in social settings, right, where I get to interact with more than one person because I know what I can bring to a room. But really, I'm an introvert. And so when people say, but how? So back in 2012, I went back to George Brown and I took a special event planning program. And there was a course called Speaking with Confidence. And just recently, I seen the teacher, you know what I mean? Years later, that was in as I said, 2012. And I just said, thank you so much, because you don't realize things you're going through. Like, sometimes you're just a student, you're just taking a course, but then you don't realize that it's a catalyst for what you actually end up doing next, right? Which is very much so. I'm a speaker, I'm a host, this is what I do. But if it wasn't for that class, I remember seeing everybody's reaction. I'm like, oh, they're like really soaking me up. And that was my first impression of how I was able to utilize the same skill sets he taught us as a teacher to then now captivate an audience, right? But people don't believe me that I'm an introvert. Like, I am very shy. Especially if I'm around you and like, if I know that you're somebody that has, you know, high knowledge, profound, and you're just somebody of great value, like, oh, I can get shy. I can get really shy.
So I just want to revert back, guys. So she said that she's an introvert, yet she's a finalist of a pitch
I
contest.
know. I know. Yeah, that's why I have nerves. Like, I'm so nervous. Like, so nervous. Like, every day I think about it in my stomach. I literally feel it in my stomach. The pits of my stomach.
You know what? If I just want to interject. I don't want to even look at that as like a detriment to what you do, because I think we need to start removing that notion of, oh, if you're an introvert, like it's not a bad thing, because extrovert, introvert, it's about like the mindset that you always keep.
Correct.
Because I know lots of people who they come out and like they're just the life of the party, and you tell them, you're like, I don't like to be outside. I know lots of people. You want to know why I know lots of people? I'm one of them. Like I'm like someone that's like, I like to stay in my house, but I am like someone that likes to go out and talk. But most of the time, I'd rather stay home, chill. If anyone's asking me, "Yo, you trying to link to this party?" I'm like, nah, fam. I'll probably just stay home, chill and everything like that. Probably get a nice little exercise, self care.
Yes. Yes. Because we're light workers. That's what it is. Our job is to bring light to the room. So we have to then obviously, it takes energy to do what we do, right? To really be able to share publicly, authentically, vulnerability, all included in one. And so we need to restore ourselves as well, right? And that's the reality. And I really had to step into that when I started setting boundaries, because I was tired of trying to explain to people my vision, my mission, my path. I'm here for a purpose. We're here to serve. And so our level of commitment is quite different than the average person. And so trust me when I say there's more of us, right? And we love our solitude. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We just know when to turn up when the time is right.
For sure, for sure. All right, going on to the last question for the hot seat segment. What is your personal safe room?
So you just stepped into it a little bit, right? My safe room is my boundaries. It's what I said. It's how I protect my peace. It's how I reserve my energy. My walls are not nothing to do with being guarded, but I am mindful that everybody has their own agenda. And so going back to when somebody asks me to go out, I have to say, does this align with my next step? Does this align with where I need to be? Where do I have to go the next day? Who's going to benefit from that? It goes more deeper than just my feelings of what I feel like I should do. It's once again stepping into, I'm here for a purpose. And so there's certain things that I used to do that unfortunately I can't do anymore, because I need to go as far as I can go, because I'm here to break the generational curse by all means necessary. I do have 4 boys. They're all teenage boys, and we're all in this space right now where we're learning about entrepreneurship, and it's beautiful, and I can't explain it, but I know that I'm one of very few women, single mothers, that get to teach 4 black men how to then create their own legacy, right? And really be able to pave their own way and continue to serve, if that makes sense. Because with their business, I was like, yeah, we're going to do social enterprise and we're going to only employ youth, because that's how it started. My son was looking for jobs and he couldn't find any. And he was lucky enough to get Wonderland, but I mean, that came far and few. And I thought, wow, they're asking for experience from, he at that time was 17. But then if you can work as early as 14, these youth have no experience. So there's once again another gap. I'm not touching that now, but I mean, you see how like when I see problems, I gravitate towards it. And I'll keep it in the back of my mind to be like, this is something I am going to solve eventually, right? But right now, it's definitely the women that I'm coming across who are just so passionate in their business, but just needs a little bit of help.
I love that, especially breaking that generational curse. I think that's so important in today's society. You also mentioned the job market. I think we could all agree it's eating everyone right now, including me. Like, it's come to the point where, and like, again, this might be my personal thing. I do see that the world of entrepreneurship is really growing exponentially. And I think it's the fact that people are starting to lose faith in the job market to find something that they're thinking, oh, I can probably make my
Yes.
own money. And people don't really understand like just the psychology and everything that goes into the practice of
Yes.
entrepreneurship. And then I'm not trying to sound discouraging to anyone. It's like some might have the gene, like some may just be able to put it,
Yes.
but you have
Correct.
to be the dedicated. You can't just assume that if you start a business off the ground that it's going to kick off. I started this podcast in 2020, mind you, with not even the mindset that this was gonna be a business. This because I was bored at the beginning of the pandemic. I had nothing to do. I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to binge watch on YouTube. And
Wow.
3 years later, now I'm a registered business. I'm
I love
looking
it.
to get clients. I'm looking to launch services, and like I have that mindset. And I tell people all the time, like, if you want to launch a business, 6 months. 6 months doesn't mean you're gonna do it. 6 months is gonna be the proving ground. Like, show me what you can do, because I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, that's usually the time span where someone starts a business and it just ends.
And so, to your point, because we started the same time then, 2020. So that mark where if you've stuck it out, which we have, that 3 year mark, you said it yourself. You're like, my business is not registered. For me, it's finally the community's growing. You know, it's the resilience that we've had. That it's not to say people don't have it, but it's like you said, there's parts of us that kind of get it a little bit, and we kind of work through it. But there's reality where there's another set of people who want that same thing, but they're going to require services. And that's where they have to remove that ignorance to think that they can do it all by themselves, right? You're going to get so much more faster if you tap into our services. Because even for me, that's how I started. I had a coach. I still have coaches because of the simple fact that there's certain things I haven't yet mastered, you know? So especially if you're coming in, whether it's starting a podcast, whether it's looking and having that idea and want to turn into a business idea, your best bet is to get in touch with somebody, because why make the same mistakes? Why? You can just fast track yourself, get a lot further. And the thing is, you know, as individuals, as coaches, I really believe that we'd help people even uniquely position themselves. For us, there wouldn't be any competition because we're business people. We know what competition looks like, so we can create space for other people to still do their thing, right? While still being able to help more and more people do the exact same thing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. Well said. All right, that was great. Great start to the episode, guys. I love it. I love it. Okay, cool, cool. Now we get into the meat and potatoes now, the questions. The questions. And just want to give a quick disclaimer, guys. Nikki, she was telling me before we recorded that the questions like it hit her in a way, and like that makes me happy. It knows I'm doing my job
Yes.
right. So
Yes, you are.
all right, perfect, perfect. So, I know we were gonna talk about building a dream, and obviously, if you guys see the title of this episode, "Building a Dream for Yourself," you know me. I like to like tie things together, like little puns or like
As
phrase
you
or like
should.
double entendres. Listen, that's just how I think, guys. Like, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's amazing. It's creative. It's innovative, right? That's what's in right now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, yeah, so for everyone listening, Nikki, please explain to everyone what building the dream is and how it interconnects with your business, how that connects to everything. Is there a correlation in between?
So, Building a Dream is a vibrant and supportive community full of women entrepreneurs who are just very passionate about entrepreneurship. And so, what it really serves as like this dynamic platform that interconnects with my coaching services. And so, what I mean by that is it's almost as if what I was noticing as a coach was I'm doing these one-on-one sessions, And in life skills coaching at George Brown, they actually tell you we had to actually go ahead and do our own session, but you should be doing group coaching. They focused it around group coaching rather than individual. What I found with that is when you have so many clients, it's a matter of how do you still connect with them? Like how do you still, make sure that if they need some support that they could access it, even if it's not like a full session. And so multiple times I had tried in the past to create community. And what it was coming across grants. I understand there was grant funding. That was new to me. And I was like, oh my God, everybody should, learn about this. And that's my thing. If I learn something, I'm going to want somebody to think that they need to learn it too. So I have this event, and that's where this whole thing just started to grow right before my eyes. It was like, my background, I'm in hospitality. I studied the events I spoke in, but I also went and got my degree, and I worked in hotels management for 6 years roughly. And so when it came to planning the event, it wasn't new to me, essentially, because that was my background. But man, oh man, did it bring me back to times of why I stopped doing events. But one thing I listened to was when people would say, I go to events, but I don't feel like I'm actually able to take something away, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so the events that I do, they're education driven. They're really about learning something, whether panel or, having presenters and breaking it up essentially. But the idea was to continue that learning, that ongoing learning. Like my job is to help you discover, you're going to get roadblocks. So my job is when you get to that roadblock and you're feeling challenged, let's do that assessment. Let me see where you currently are and let me start identifying, okay, well, I see that this is the issue here. You might want to work on this, or you can do this, or whatever comes up at that time. And it goes back to when we speak a little bit further about how I offer, what I offer, how I go about doing things essentially. And so that's really what it is. It's the fact that there had to be a way for not just my clients, but the community to have a space. Especially there's people in there that they don't even speak, but it's more or less I know they're watching. And so one day, whenever that day comes where they're ready to work on their business, they'll speak up because they're in that space. And so I would like to say that building a dream, the society, the community is the heartbeat for my coaching services, NMCD Incorporated. It's where everything really happens, right? And it even helps me as a coach, really refine my process and how I go about, addressing people. And so I heard you say something earlier when you were saying, people don't really have it. I'm sorry to say it, but we have this thing called drape up. And you're encouraged to ask a question, put your ideas in the group, and people constantly get draped up in there because you have to realize that the next move you want to make, you didn't put no thought into it, you didn't really think about it, you didn't do no research, you're just jumping the gun. And so I'm here to remind you, take a step back, right? Because this is where, once again, that ongoing coaching, they need it. 100% they need it. So there's nothing wrong with saying to somebody, hey, you're not where you're supposed to be, because that's what happened to me. I was lucky enough that somebody looked at me and said, well, if you don't know how much money you made in your business, then you're not an entrepreneur. Excuse me? That hit me kind of different. But the reality was, yeah, I actually wasn't paying attention to how much revenue I was bringing in the business. Not that I didn't want to, but then I started to realize, oh my God, I'm not really operating this like a business if that's the case. And so, once again, it's just a beautiful interconnection where everybody can be as one. And if at that time, like, you need services, somebody be like, hey, Nikki, I'm going to book a meeting with you now. In the group and everything, and they'll share their meetings. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful because it fosters the ongoing learning. Pitch Better Canada, right at the point of doing this, Pitch Better Canada revealed that 90% of Black women don't attend developmental programs. And it was in that moment I was like, wow, I actually have the solution. This is crazy. So it's understanding that you need the development. You have to have it, both in your personal and your business, right? And this is the space to do that. And we invite entrepreneurs, startups, people who don't necessarily know what to do next. But then here you are with a room full of people who don't know what to do next either. But we're just brave enough to take those steps and figure out how to get things done.
Man, everyone, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're really taking notes and listening to everything that Nikki's saying. But no, that's really great to hear. I love how again there is that interconnection with the building the dream and your coaching services. And you mentioned the word like like oneness. I think that's so crucial because a lot of the times like when you are creating services like for your business, you kind of want to be able to say that it all interconnects with something. And
Yes.
I was at an event yesterday. I'm only telling people who are listening to this episode. So if you are not listening to the episode, you will not hear what I'm about to say. So please, you're the lucky ones. I went to this private event. It was a 30 for 30. So basically, it was the top 30 entrepreneurs under the age of 30 for Glory magazine. And the funny thing about this was that I got invited from someone who I had as a mentor for Black House, it's a mentorship
Nice.
program. Mind-boggling experience. And again, I am an extrovert, but even I was stunned. I was like, I don't know who to talk to, what to
I love
say.
it. I
It's
love
just
it.
it was amazing. And extra bonus points, I got to talk to Brandon Gonez, which was a huge moment. So
Wow.
one thing I learned from that, I was able to kind of get across everything, and I didn't think back and thought these are it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Like no, everything I said makes sense, and I feel for a lot of entrepreneurs as well when they get into it, they have so much ideas, and like they were talking about this yesterday. They have so much ideas that you want to say, so much that you want to do, and that's fine. Obviously, that's the rush. But sometimes with having such a accumulative amount of ideas or search you want to do, it becomes where you're not getting anything done. It's just like, oh, I can't do this, or like I can't do that, or it's just not feasible to get to this point. I just have to focus on that one thing eventually. Just make sure that I master it. People see me as this, so that way I'm able to reach out to more clients, get more customers. And you know, one thing I've noticed too is like even when you stick to that one thing, later down the line, that one idea that you had to like abandon eventually comes back into the fold.
Yep. Yep. It does. Yep. Writing things down is super important. 100%. And I encourage everybody to do it every quarter and review it once a year. You know, pull up those stuff and then put it on a calendar and just make it really big. And because at one point in time, it was meant for you to execute. But you do have to be mindful of your well being and, you know, the amount of pressure you put on yourself, essentially. So, yeah, I love writing things down.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I loved everything from what building the dream represents, especially for women entrepreneurs. I think that's so crucial nowadays. People assume that there are enough services for female entrepreneurship, but it's also about accessibility. You could say yes, there isn't, but I think what for you, you're having the best of both worlds, where you're providing that service where like people can get it and there's enough that they're getting from it and it's accessible, so it's like they're not scurrying or just trying to figure out where do I go here, like do I need to reach out to this person. And I think that's one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses are trying to figure out, how to get that accessibility factor. Like hopefully in the near future I want to be able to say I have like a physical location that people can go to, but I do my best to have that digital marketing, whether it's like social media, having a website, advertisements, being able to push myself, or for you to push your business out so people are, they're getting dragged into it.
Yeah, yeah. So two things I'm gonna say since we're gonna do confidentiality right now. So you had mentioned your own podcast and even just what I do in the business. So I'm very resourceful. I intentionally go out to meet people for my members. I am having an event coming up, and this one I'm going to do it a little bit differently, meaning that I'm going to invite industry partners. Because one of the things that became very evident as I'm growing this is I want to be a community networker. And there are tons of programs, free programs run by Black associations that are meant for entrepreneurship, development, and growth. And so I'm trying to work in that ecosystem right now. But those are the type of things that I share in the community. So that's exclusivity of being a part of the community, is that you get access to grants, you get access to pitching competitions, resources, anything that is pulled by myself or the members gets put in a built-in chat where only I control, so nothing gets lost in the main chat essentially. And so once again, it's if I don't have the answer, I get to send somebody somewhere because I'm that resourceful. So it goes back to me just being that accountability coach, being able to hold you to what you said you're supposed to do, your goals, and essentially just that. But you had made a comment that I really want to revisit at a time. But one of the things I'm looking forward to doing is right now it's like a business and financial hub. That's what I consider, building a dream to really be. I want that to be a physical property where people get to come in and actually work on their business at all given times, whether it's a co-working space. I haven't really decided on the actual concept yet, but I'm aware that in the East End, in Scarborough, we do not have that. And a lot of the things that are put in place, they do not suit our needs, unfortunately. The way in how we learn, the way in how we need to be taught. When we talk about learning, being a teacher, everybody has different learning styles. And unfortunately, I find like the different foodpreneur labs, like I've asked members, how, have you done this? They're like, yeah, but it was really boring. And so really being able to create something for our community, if I could have a space that has a kitchen, because a lot of my clients, they are cooking or they're baking, but what they don't have access to is being able to test their products and really be able to create specs to see how much does this cost per unit. This is the things that we're missing. We don't know if we're overcharging, undercharging. So there's feasibility programs, and I'll tell them, hey, go sign up for this one, But I would love it where there's going to be a portion of it where I want to get back into podcasting myself, and I really want to be able to have a room. And I would love to, if this is something that you want to do, and if it's just a startup, just a whatever, once again, everything should be strategic to make capital, right? To get you to that next point. But I am also aware of how important it is to collaborate and partner. And so it would be really nice to have some type of collaboration in the future where we can work towards that, because of course it reduces costs, allows you to brainstorm and really be more effective in the outcome of what's actually being put together. So definitely want to stay connected with you because I feel like there's something that we can definitely offer for the community.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always looking to like collaborate with people. I've been trying to tell myself even more just to.
What? Absolutely. So as a matter of fact, because you said that, so I'm actually allocating 10 tickets to industry professionals. And so you can come in. And so I haven't created the actual tier yet, but essentially what it is that you'd be intentional. You're coming in and you're coming to talk about podcasting, but even more or less even getting that level of service, right? And so anybody who I invite into my spaces, I encourage them. That's what you're supposed to be doing. It's like a showcase, because what was happening is they were sponsoring food, and then it was like it became this place where they could test their products. So I was like, yeah, I need to start inviting industry professionals, because there are people that want to start podcasts for sure. People who already have podcasts but maybe don't realize that there's a better way to do something, or maybe have some insights and expertise on what worked for you and what didn't work for you, right? So there's room for you. There's space for you, 100%. And we don't have any men. Like, I'm not against having men in the circle, because of the gap that I'm now realizing that has to be served. Yes, it's going to be a woman, but men need to be in these spaces too, 100%.
It's like I said before, you focus on one thing and eventually maybe there was an idea you had before, it kind of finds its way back into the loop. So
Definitely.
yeah. Guys, you just saw like a little collaboration deal just go down on the bottom. That's never happened. So I mean, great to see. Great to see. All right. Let's go on to the next question. So again, building a dream, you built this community and it's absolutely amazing. But I want to know, when did you exactly know that coaching, like this type of skill set, was going to be something that it allowed to build potential in these entrepreneurs and these individuals, but also create their own pathway? When did you know that this was something that you could really apply and say, you know what? I actually want to like help people, help people. It's not like, oh, I might have talked to a couple individuals and like, okay, sounds good, but it's like, nah, I have a gift and I want to use that gift.
Yes. So it's funny that you say that, because we do have to pay attention to the signs of life. All the answers are really there. And so for years, I would have people tell me, you should be a coach. And I'm like, what? Like, why do people keep saying that? Like, I don't even know what the heck a coach is. Literally. And I remember, because I would have taken, it would have been 2020 before the pandemic hit. I just randomly was like, I'm going to do an accountability group, because I was kind of had a business, kind of, and I was just like, who wants to hold himself accountable? It went really well. As I said, I had attempted to do this before and I wasn't successful. Something was missing. And when I look back now, I just didn't have value to offer. If I'm going to be honest, that's what I see. I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I could help people. But what really propelled me was it was my last friend who said to me, you should be a coach. And for somebody to be that close to me to say that, random people were just telling me that. But somebody that I knew telling me that, I was like, okay. So next thing I know, COVID hits, and then George Brown puts it online, because one of the issues that I was facing was that it was really hard to be working and then get to class for like 6 o'clock. I would do like one-off classes for like my adult education, but it was at that time it wasn't possible. But COVID allowed it to be possible because then it was online. And so once again, it was really unintentional, because I remember saying to God, like, it was a trade-off, 100% a trade-off. I was frustrated. I was exhausted. I was like, I keep trying to do this entrepreneurship thing and it's not really working, and I'm getting really fed up. And I was like, yo, if you just like let me like serve, just let me serve. I promise I won't let you down. I'll be in the happiest place ever. And I really believe 2 years later, 3 years almost, this is him. Well, 2 years when I did the first event. So I'm coming around now almost my full fiscal year come October, right? So for me, I never had a plan, and that's why I had to be woken up, because when I was asked how much money you're making, I didn't know, because in my mind I was just following this whatever thing I was just following, and it was going great, and I was losing my hair because then all these ideas were flaunting towards me, and I was just trying to implement all these things. There's no true when did it happen, but I'm gonna go back to saying, not be careful what you ask for, but there's no way that if you want something bad enough, you are not going to receive it. That's that. If I see what's happening before my eyes right now in my life, it's everything I've actually asked for is coming to light, regardless of the obstacles and the challenges that I had to face. But I had to go through that. So when I go do my coaching and people tell me stories, I'm so relatable. That's what really, I think, from a personal level separates me from coaches and other people, is because I'm very vulnerable. I'm very authentic. But I'm so relatable. I'm a mom of 4 boys. When I tell you I've been through it, I've done it. I've done it. This is where I get to turn around and embody my, once again, I'm going to the approach of how I get people to move, essentially.
That's so inspirational. I love how you mentioned at first it was a random stranger that said, "Hey, you should be a coach." And it's surprising that based on the people we keep in our lives, how much their words make such an impact, because you're thinking, because like I think the question that goes in my head, I'm like, a random person told me I could be a coach. Why did I not take that and let it hit me? But it took my a friend. Not to say it's a bad thing, but it's like, again, we tend to shy away from a moment where someone's trying to uplift us or put us on the next echelon. So again, you're kind of waiting for those close ones, people that to give you that validation. It's like nowadays where if you don't hear from your friends, you're kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going where I'm going. If a random stranger says it's like, I don't know what you do, you're probably gonna be going somewhere else the next day. I don't know exactly what you're doing, but if I hear from my best friend, it's like, oh, I should do this. But then God's looking down at you like, sir, someone told you this already. Like you're missing the sign. It's like I had to throw you another lob because you missed the first one.
Facts. Facts. Bang on. Straight. I'm done.
So, I mean, yeah, like it's amazing how like there are moments where like you see it, and again, I always ask the question when, but I'm also hoping that some people tell me like there's never really a when. I think it's more of just like it happens, and you just gotta adapt with it, because sometimes there might be a when, but even for me, saying that I started back in 2020, I did not know when everything was gonna fall into place. Again, I did episodes because I had a passion for podcasting. I thought it was fun. And then sometime after I graduated last year from York, I just started going to event after event after event. And I just came home one day. I'm like, yo, I kind of want to do this, like really go for it. I mean, for 2 years, I was just goofing around, like having a random conversation. Now it's like, nah,
I
let's
love it.
freaking do this. And then it's just everything afterwards. And like, I know I mentioned before, guys, that it's been a year and I don't even have a job. I now had to start realizing that, wait a minute, I may not have a full time job, but I have my own business. What am I complaining about? Like, what am I really complaining about? After graduating a year, you're probably thinking, oh, I ain't got no full time job. This and that. I'm like, you're running your own business. That's something I could have never even thought about, or even thought like that's the goal. That was never really a goal, like for me. So again, everything kind of happens for a reason.
Yes, it sure does. It really does. I'll never forget you jumping on Tasia's live. I'm like, who's this guy? He's so energetic. Like, what's going on here?
The same way we met too. So I was like, yo, shout out to Tasha. Shout out to Tasha. Millionaire mommy.
Right?
Yo, but if it wasn't for you, this would have never happened.
Yep. Yep. And shout out to people who, once again, like, it's a challenge for us to show up on Instagram Live for 30 days. And so that's how we're trying to come out of our comfort zone, really showing up, like using it to articulate our business, using it just to show people who we are so they can, increase that likability factor, right? Understanding what it takes to run a business. Sometimes they want to see you. And so we're doing what we're hoping more entrepreneurs will do, is start stepping out in their business and showing up as their authentic self, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's go on to the next question. So, what are some of the common things you see from some of your new clients, some of the individuals that you like engage with when it comes to your services? And like, how do you try to support those things? Because I know there's probably a few things that you see like, okay, it's the same issue. Okay, same person. Okay, same person. Like, does it make you feel like, okay, I have to just make sure that I'm staying consistent with it? Or maybe it's like a moment where you're like, okay, I see a lot of people are dealing with this issue. Is there a way I could provide something, whether it's like another service or maybe another idea that kind of, solves these issues a little bit more efficiently? Like, do you ever have that sense?
So, interestingly enough, what is definitely known is that we're human, right? And we come across confusion and lack of clarity. So, typically, when people come to me, that's the first thing they're coming to me for, is that they have this idea, but they're not too sure if like it's gonna work, and so they're in that space of like, I need a little bit more clarity. Like, can you help me with that? Like, that's like the number one common thing. And so that is something where you can't fix that, because I still even go through that challenge myself. I'm just more mature enough to know that if I need to seek that answer, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna hit up a mentor or somebody that I know that can support me. Another thing that people come to me for as well is financial management issues. So they get to a point where they're just fed up with, the debt that they have, or they want to learn how to do a budget essentially, or they heard about investing. And so I take a whole assessment. I'm all about assessments, like, because it's understanding where somebody's is, listening to them, really being able to formulate, okay, I see what they're facing, and then how can I help essentially. And so these are things too, even when it comes to financial management issues. This is not like a one size shoe, like just one person. It's everybody, right? Resources are there, but once again, and I would like to be that person that's going to start, soon as school's done, stepping to that role of really letting people know there are answers to their questions, and you just need to connect yourself with the right people, and then going into business growth and strategy, right? So I love strategizing in the business. Like, I'm like, I need to do this, so I'm gonna find out a way to do this. And I love watching numbers. And it's funny enough, I love watching numbers, but I wasn't watching like the revenue numbers. When I say I love watching numbers, like if I'm having webinars, like I need to ensure that the attendance is going up, or if I'm putting something out there. Like right now, this whole challenge is amazing. The followership is going up, and it's like, oh, this is what I needed. This is perfect, because as I'm about to end off school, I need people to start to know who I am in the business that I offer. So this is just perfect timing. And so it even goes back to people wanting personal development. This is where the life skills, coaching comes in, because even though I honed in and niched down on business and finance, I'm still equipped. And to be honest with you, everybody still has personal issues that they share in the meetings. It's never just I need help in my business, because sometimes it gets to the point of, if there's something they need help in the business with, but then it's like a problem in their personal lives, whether it's time management, or they have children and there's certain hours they have to figure out, okay, how do you work on the business? So sometimes the issues that we have in the business, yes, could be very much so business related, but it can absolutely tie back to their personal skills as well as their mindset, essentially. And then sometimes people come to me with financial literacy. They have no clue about anything, and they need that level of education. I provide that. And then aside from the lack of clarity, the next one that I see more of is accountability and support. So yes, people want to work on their stuff, but they also need somebody to be like, can you make sure I get it done? Or, like, I'm really struggling in that department. Can you keep pushing me? And that's why like Drape Up was formed in the group, because it's like, well, here's the accountability. Like, please don't do that. So there it is. And yeah, and like Drape Up is so amazing, because we've always been taught about constructive criticism, right? And so it's the same thing that we should be embracing to receive as entrepreneurs. Because I said to somebody yesterday, if there's 4 things you want to look at in a business, you have operations, finance, marketing, and planning. What happens in between that is the complexity of running a business. And so you begin to realize that there are so many moving parts. So how dare you put so much onus on yourself to think that you can get it done? Can you be your own dentist? Can you truly be your own doctor? Right? And this is the same thing too. We're not taught to seek services as also a necessary means, an essential means. And that's a narrative I kind of want to shift, right? In that regards, essentially.
Honestly, like, I have nothing to comment on that. Like, you kind of hit everything. Like, see, this is why I got her, guys. This is why I got Nikki. You know, like the gems. I told you. I hope y'all got the notepads and everything, because like you're definitely dropping all the knowledge. Okay, let's go on to the next question. We're just gonna keep the flow going. And you might have answered this, but I do want to kind of backtrack and get to it. So, why do you believe that your business, what you're doing, is creating a significant impact to those women entrepreneurs, to those individuals, and that have just got in connection with you? Why do you believe, like, just the work that you're doing, it makes you just want to wake up every single day and, like, I just want to get right to it? Like, this is something I eat, breathe, and sleep.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of a refresher to your point of, yes, there's some things I touched on, but I'll make it a little bit more straight to the point. And then I'm looking at social impact and economic impact, because as I move towards sustainability in terms of social enterprise, I'm ensuring that other entrepreneurs are then curious about what does this mean too, because we need to be really learning how to grow businesses. And so that tailored approach, like I was saying, when it comes to, meeting my clients, like everybody's unique. There's not one person that's the same. Their goals are different, their aspirations are different, everything is different. And so I listen and I really truly try to understand where you're coming from so that I could give you that level of advice that is catered to you. And then of course, I'm very knowledgeable. My greatest gift is receptivity. When I hear something, I soak it all up and I apply it. I put pressure. I don't know how people receiving information just sit on it. I don't know how to do that. I just don't. But in the same breath of fresh air, it helps me because the more I know, the more I can offer. And then the more people can grow as well and do what they have to do. Going back to that holistic approach. So yes, I offer a service, but the community is also a great way for the personal well-being, for the work-life balance, for that long-term commitment. So yes, it's a tailored approach to you, but then let me give you space to even grow as a being, to be around other people who are doing exactly what you're doing, so that you can see that either, don't be so hard on yourself because everybody's trying to do the same thing, or, try to move into the direction that you're supposed to be moving into, because you already seen the vision, it's there, but you gotta face whatever it is that you're getting through. And then from that, I get to create long-term partnerships. Like, there isn't anybody that I've met that if I could have friends, I have a lot of friends. You know what I mean? Because it's beautiful who I get to attract, and it's just that I get to attract. And so when it comes to the social aspect now in the business, going back to the pillars when I said education, empowerment, inspiration, it's the fact that I get to empower individuals. And so this helps them a lot when it comes to skills, even knowledge for themselves, the resources they never had access to, just giving them that opportunity, like, yo, you can do this, And I tell people this, I use ChatGPT in my coaching, and it's phenomenal now, because yes, I'm using it to help you, to show you where you need to be, but I just gave you a whole new skill set. And as entrepreneurs, when it comes to the characteristics that we should take on, we should absolutely be adaptable, right? And really be agile and flexible to technology. You still have to learn how to still input what you need to input, but it's how you be efficient, because it's not that easy being an entrepreneur. But once you actually understand what you can and can't do in terms of like your weaknesses and your strengths, more or less, you know how to tap into certain things like language model applications that are going to absolutely help you in different areas, so you can focus on other things that do require your attention. And then there's the supporting entrepreneurs. And so going back to the support of their business. So right now, I'm in the process. They finally got me. They're very opinionated, these bunch of women, but blessings to them, because they've really helped me shape Building a Dream. And so members directory, they have voiced their concerns, saying that they don't know everybody in the group and they would love to know how they could support. And that's one thing I find very unique about these women. Not only are they building their business, but they want to support other entrepreneurs as well. So this is the social impact that is absolutely being created within the group, and then the economic impact for me being that business owner, helping the economy be able to have entrepreneurs grow their business so that we can have more opportunities for people to have jobs, right? Because that's the next step. Literally today, I've been saying, man, like, what the heck is scalability? Like, what the heck? If I hear, like, I just need to figure out, like, what, there's a code to crack, and I heard it today. You need a team. That's scalability. It's not just creating campaigns or strategy. Like, you can do all of that, but it's pointless if you can't be efficient and see moving parts moving with moving parts, because that's the only way, and it brings me back to the four quadrants of Robert Kiyosaki. On the left hand side, you have the employee, and then you have the self-employed, and the self-employed person is wearing all the hats. But when you cross over on that right side, you become that business owner. And this is why McDonald's and Burger King and Walmart and all these places are operating, because they have key resources, human resources, to help them keep running that ship. But where I want us to also see next is a lot of those businesses are investing. And that's that next portion. Once you figured it out, invest essentially. And so yeah, that's pretty much what I definitely believe is what I'm able to create in terms of that significance, that difference, that impact in people's lives.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. You did definitely hit on some strong points as well, especially the scalability, building a team, and like I also tell myself as well, if you don't have like any capacity to do like even the simplest task that you were common to do, that's where you tell yourself you need a team. Like even the stuff I do, if I go out and I'm like covering an event, because that's what I've been doing recently for the podcast for my business. I want to go out and cover events, do interviews and everything like that. I always contact different photographers and videographers that I know, and I'm like, okay, let's
Yes.
get together and let's come up with a plan. Because listen, guys, I'm not Superman. I can't do it all. I can't do it all. Like, obviously it'd be nice to like learn different skill set, but even if I learn different skill set, I think just having a team together is great, because it allows you to really get things done. And also with having a team, it's that level of trust, because sometimes, I see it all the time. People start a team and then like they don't give it enough time for it to grow. And again, there will be bumps at the beginning, but that's going to happen. That's something you're not gonna, bypass, or it's not gonna be something that's gonna go away. You're gonna see those obstacles. It's about, can you adapt to it and push through, or you're just gonna kind of tap out just like the first minute something goes off the wall.
Yeah. Very true. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so yeah, I love Nikki. Just all your answers, absolutely great. We're gonna switch things up a bit. We're gonna do a little intermission, because I had something else I wanted to talk on the intermission, but then that changed after this morning. So guys, listen, we haven't done a little bit of banter on the podcast in a while, so I had to bring it up here. So I just want to let people know I am not a TikTok person. Okay, I don't get into TikTok culture that much. However, I'm looking to probably do it for my business, because I understand the opportunity and everything like that. So I'm scrolling this morning and I see something along the lines of, in relations to Taylor Swift and Michael Jackson. So if you probably see where I'm about to go with this. So there's this someone saying that Taylor Swift is as famous, if not more famous, than Michael Jackson is currently, the way she's like portrayed. Like she's like Michael Jackson famous. And that rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not gonna lie with you. That got me triggered. Because like again, I'm not saying I'm a Michael Jackson stan. I like Michael Jackson, but I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna sell my soul and everything. But it's just like, why? Just why? Listen, no disrespect to Taylor Swift either. Taylor Swift, she been doing her thing. Listen, she is one of the biggest artists in the world. But it's just, I find it funny. It's just like, MJ though, she's MJ famous. I don't know. Personally, for me, it was a terrible take. I just thought there's nothing in her catalog alone that's gonna be trying to even measure up to what Michael has done and everything.
I agree. You took me away with this one. I have no comments. I just
Yeah, because like I think the what he said, the person who was discussing this topic, I think the base they used as the case study was the like the amount of tours she's done and the amount of money she's been able to generate.
So then why not put Beyonce in that category? So this is the part that confuses
And
me because I'm like, then
that's
what's
what
the
got me
so because
too.
now you got me all riled up. I was gonna just sit here and be like, I don't want to be part of this conversation.
That triggered me too because I'm like, okay, you want to talk about tour money, fine. Then like, where the hell is Beyonce? And again, listen, I am not a
Like
Beyonce fan like that either. Like I do think
facts, I get it.
I believe the Beehive is probably the most toxic fan base I have seen. Like period. I don't care if people get triggered. Like they are toxic. But even I can admit when that statement, when you're looking at that statement, Taylor Swift is Michael Jackson famous. Are you basically implying that Taylor is a bigger artist than Beyonce? Then
Yes, because that was my first thing. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should. This one's a little bit messy. Then I'm like, but when you were like tours, I'm like, if that did she not just go to Dubai or something like that, where the whole thing was locked down, we couldn't even see it, and that was like illicit, video footage. Like I didn't see Taylor Swift do any of that. Like I mean, I'm just saying. And once again, she's a great woman, but like I can't see. It's like giving what's supposed to give. Like that's Michael Jackson was given. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, just but like again, like I feel like with lots of people who make these takes, they can find good evidence. So he was showing clips where like there were fans that were fainting off of Taylor Swift concerts, fans that were like packed out of arenas and stadiums. But it's just like I understand tours like that; those come a big factor, especially in today's society, the concert culture. I've talked about this on the podcast. I get it, but Michael Jackson was doing all of that like from time, and I'm telling you right now, and like I know this may not be like a factual point, but if Michael Jackson were to just resurrect for one night and put on a show, I will spend my entire life
yep,
savings just
yep,
to
that's
see
facts.
that moment.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that with Taylor Swift. Just dead or alive. No disrespect. I'm not. I'm not like
This is why building a brand, it's the business, but it's another part of the business. And a lot of people run to building a brand, right? But once you really know who you are, what you stand for in the business, yes, we see both people. Like she's doing well, and so did Michael. But I mean, he left something, and that's just even something when we talk. If we're gonna tie it back into entrepreneurship, he left his mark. And he was just always showing up as himself, and it's really a matter of like even asking, like, would you want to be a Michael Jackson? Would you want, what I mean, at the end of the day, for them to still be talking about you, which I find more thrilling than the fact that they compared, him to Taylor. It's more the fact that he still reigns, he still lives on. What a legend.
I love that. I love how you also connected that to the entrepreneurship because I think that is so true. You want to be able that your business leaves a mark that when you're gone, that people are still talking about it. And like that's something I'm trying to strive for myself. It's like,
Facts.
look, I may not be able to do everything on this earth, but when I leave, people are gonna remember like the stuff I've done. They're gonna remember what we do, what we stand for, and that's that longevity. That's the like the living immortality right there.
Yep. Yep. Facts.
I love how you connected with it back to like entrepreneurship because I think that is like a good correlation. But overall, guys, terrible take. I'm sorry. Just the Taylor. Listen, I know you're not watching this, and there might be Swifties watching this too, but I'm sorry. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. Again, it just it blew my mind. I had something else in store, but that one I had to get that off my chest. I was holding that on since this morning, so.
Oh gosh, oh dear.
Yeah, yeah, but okay, we can get on to the closing topic. We're about to wrap this up. So I know we talked a lot about building a dream here, coaching services, but I kind of want to talk about business and finance. You did kind of mention finance in a small context because I know there's a lot of people who are starting their business or maybe running their business. One of the huge parts and the most difficult parts is financing because sometimes it can be very complex or others are just like I don't have the time to do this or like it's so hard to learn. So just how would you like kind of introduce to entrepreneurs based on your own personal experience just how to have a balance of running their business but also financing their business, making sure that there's a good cash flow, everyone's getting revenue, they're understanding their expenses, they're understanding what is coming in, what is being taken out.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing, like, everybody should be doing is planning. So as much as we've kind of been lucky enough to, really have the business maturing in a sense, I know for a fact the next time around, I know how to plan something now. I know how to plan, a business, at least on the initial onset. And so having a plan within the business and with a budget is super important, because chances are whenever we plan in our business, to some degree it may cost us, but what we're never really factoring in is in that budgeting part. Like, how much is it really going to cost us? And so then once again, we don't really know our return, our ROI, I should say, our rate of on investments. And so without that, once again, you're just walking around more or less just offering a hobby, because you're not really being intentional in that way. And so for people that are looking for ways to have the finance in their business, if you're planning and you're being strategic on the onset, doing things like bootstrapping and prioritizing. So, bootstrapping, where you're reaching out to your family and friends and asking for funding. You might even have funding set aside for yourself, and that goes in the budget. Whatever it is going to take you to run that business, essentially, you need to know those costs. And so you need to know what you need so that you got to ask for it. And so, but you also have to make sure that on the flip side, not only are you trying to receive money, but prioritizing the expenses that you may have in the business and questioning, do I even need these expenses? Because often at times we start businesses thinking that we need this or we need that. My son went and started a clothing line, and I had to drape him up and be like, I need to meet your partner, because what do you mean? I said, in Canada, when you decide to do business with somebody, you're now in a legal partnership, and you should have some type of agreement or understanding where both sides are coming from. And so jumping into doing that and then jumping into doing a website, but then not having no clear direction, this is why we need to be prioritizing, because you never need to spend money on the website to start. Right? So really watching your expenses. Now, when it comes to wanting additional financing, seeking additional finance, we know that yes, you can get loans, you can get grants. There's big talk about angels, investors, and venture capitalists, but this is where, once again, I don't see a lot of people talking about it, is this pitching opportunity. And you should be pitching your life away before you go to any venture capitalist, because they're going to want to know numbers. They're going to want to see certain things and how you're operating. So if you've done pitching competitions after pitching competitions and you've raised capital, they want to even see that you're even capable to, once again, manage money and be able to allocate it in ways that has grown the business. So yeah, there's 100% levels to this, and you want to make sure that you are looking at all areas, but not running into things, and making sure that it makes sense. And then going to that monitor cash flow. So the budget is only in place because something is coming in. You need to tell the money what to do. But if you don't have a cash flow, if you're not monitoring your cash flow, then you're just going to let the money that comes in just go, because you're not telling it what to do. There's no real, desire for it to do anything. And so often at times, if you're not tracking the revenue that's coming in, so you can minus it from your expenses to see the profit, people are floored because you're only looking at sales revenue, but they never really factor in how much money do I actually have left over once that transaction is done, essentially. And so this is the part where financial management comes into play, and I strongly urge people to go and hire somebody such as myself, because I just had a member in the group ask today. They're like, oh, do I need to have my personal finances in check if I decide to open a business account? Absolutely. The bank is still looking at your personal stuff. And so with the Bank of Canada, in their policy, it does state that, ideally you'll be able to get products with a 630 credit score. So these are things that you want to keep in the back of your mind, because if you're lower than that, then that means something's not happening in your personal. So you got to fix that. And this is what we don't realize, is that as entrepreneurs, we start things, but we're constantly taking money from our personal finances to fuel the business, and going back to not having the plan, the budget, we're not getting that ROI because there's no plan, there's nothing. And so we keep working these 9 to 5s and taking the money, but once again, not tracking nothing, not seeing where it's going. And so you have to understand too, that is also a skill set that you may or may not have. So you got to delegate that. You got to outsource it. And then going back to partnerships, right? When I had spoken to, collaboration and partnerships are great because it's shared resources. You get to access new markets on both ends, and it reduces costs. So as you're starting up, it's okay to go solo, but in the business model canvas, which I do offer as a coaching service, you look at your key partners, because as much as you might be starting out B2C, you need to be able to do B2B so that they can help you get the B2C, essentially, right? And so having these partnerships are key, but you have to know who you are so that you can go to these nonprofit organizations or these community centers or wherever it is to build those partnerships so that they can pay you to be there while you still have the customer segment you need, but just in a larger capacity. And the last thing I want to leave everybody with is continuous learning. You know, as a licensed financial advisor, we have to have 30 continuing education credits in order to renew our license. And so it's that piece that comes into that 90% of Black women don't attend developmental programs because it's not mandatory, you know? And so if it's not mandatory and we're juggling family, home, life, children, this, that, job, we're not going to take it serious. But if it was ever serious to have a license to become an entrepreneur with the same requirements as a financial advisor, there'd be way more successful entrepreneurs, 100%, because they'd have to take it seriously or the business dissolves. That's the choice you get, right? And so really encouraging everyone that, you know, these are the things that it would take for you to really start up a business and run it with the finance piece in mind.
Absolutely beautiful. Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
was a blessing, honestly. I loved every bit of it. Once again, when it comes to being able to articulate your business, an opportunity like this, it would be stupid of me to throw it away because I'm still growing and I'm still building. And so even as I, you know, continue to get out there, I'm still refining, right? As well, how I show up and what is it that I do. So every opportunity I get to speak, I encourage everybody to take all the opportunities because it isn't come past you just by accident. Like you said earlier, it's gonna come back again. Like if it's meant for you, it's gonna come back again. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. For sure, for sure. But no, for real, we appreciate you coming on, just dropping the knowledge and just again being real, being authentic as well, you know. We appreciate that because a lot of times people need to hear that authenticity, that vulnerability from, you know, different entrepreneurs like yourself, and you know, you're definitely doing your thing. You've created such a strong foundation for your business, for your brand. So it's great to see that you're having this level of success. So it's amazing. Tell people where they can find you on social media or any other platforms.
Yes, so I'm mainly an Instagram girl. Now, I want to challenge you as you come off of this wonderful podcast to really look at the demographics for TikTok and ask if that's where you're headed. I don't want to be on TikTok. I don't want people who have short attention span because you'll drive me crazy as a coach. And this is me being honest. You have to know the different markets that are on these social media platforms. People tell me all the time, you should be on TikTok. Absolutely not. I don't want that type of consumer base. I just don't. I rather Instagram where people are more willing to sit down and watch lives because they want that information. I want LinkedIn viewers because they're more business professionals and more likely they have money in their pocket. I want Facebook because they're so darn dedicated. I can't even believe Facebook is still there. So it's really understanding what these social media platforms offer. And so with that being said, you can hit me up on Instagram, Miss Nikki underscore nicely blessed. And it's funny because I've been thinking, oh my God, do I need to create an Instagram for building a dream? Do I? I don't know. But that's where you can find me. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Nik-Keisha Moodie as well. I love LinkedIn. I connect there as well. And for sure, send me an email if you have to at contact at nikishamoody.ca. And yeah, that's how you can find me. And I'm not anywhere else because it's too much. It's too much messaging to take care of.
I'll definitely get back to you with TikTok. I think with TikTok, it really depends on the content. So I think like for me, I'm a little bit more lenient to do TikTok because like I know like with TikTok, a lot of people say that it's a lot of traction that you get. Even like if yeah, even if you have a YouTube channel, YouTube Shorts also works as well. So yeah, it depends. You know, I'm not saying you have to do it. It depends. You know.
No, I know it depends. Yeah, yeah. And you know what? You're right. This podcasting nature, the TikTok, yeah, I think it would work best for you, 100%. Getting those clips of those, yeah, 100. No, just not for me. I just
Yeah, yeah. So yeah.
no, but you're right. You're right, and I like the fact how you, and this is why we need to speak up more. Once you know who you are, right? It's a lot easier to be like, well, I don't know. I think TikTok would work for me, Nikki. I love that. I love that
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's for sure, for sure. But again, everyone listening, like I mentioned before the beginning, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you can find me. I'm working on the websites a little bit under reconstruction, so you'll see everything pop up very, very soon. Instagram, the Safe Room Official. YouTube channel, we just dropped a video. It's my review from the Secure the Bag Summit that happened earlier on
Nice,
this year.
yes.
So go check it out. We're gonna be dropping. Well, actually, when this episode comes out, there will be another video out for 416 Rise. We went out to that event, did some reviews there as well. So subscribe to us on YouTube, the Safe Room Podcast. But until then, thank you again to Nikki. Thank you to everyone listening.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.